Hello there, it's time to talk about My Hero Academia chapter 190 because a lot of people are talking about this chapter as if it is absolute greatness, and can you blame them? We have Dabi, we have Endeavor winning a fight, although he is extremely out of it, so to speak. I mean, he's not unconscious, but he has taken some big hits to say the least in this fight, and even Hawks is really at his limit given how many feathers he has sacrificed in this fight, both from rescuing people but also helping Endeavor win this fight. And you know, those feathers actually burned up, so he can't just get them back, he has to actually regrow them somehow. I don't really know how his regrowth process works, but I'm sure it works in a fine way, you know, probably relatively slow, but at the same time not too slow. I guess we'll find out at some point, maybe we won't, who knows. Anyway, let's talk this chapter. So as far as Endeavor goes, I mean, a lot of people have been having negative opinions about him as of late, simply because of the fact that he's trying to redeem himself in a way that, you know, a lot of people don't like because of his past. Like, him being a child abuser in the past, people aren't really fond of that. They don't really like the idea of him being redeemed simply because of the fact that how he, you know, used to treat his family and so on and so forth. I don't really look at this whole arc as him redeeming what he did to his family. I don't really think anyone should really look at this arc from that perspective. I think you should look at this arc from a very new perspective. Him trying to become some kind of a symbol to the world, much like All Might was the symbol of peace at one point, and you know, he's not anymore, and we need a new symbol. Maybe not the same symbol, but a symbol of some kind, and Endeavor has to become that symbol because he is the #1 hero right now. He is the best that Japan has got at the moment, you know, Hawks being closely behind, as well as best genius and so on and so forth. We have a lot of good pro heroes lined up, but Endeavor is at the top, and so he has to become this symbol, and I think that's really what this arc is really trying to do. They're trying to build him up as the new symbol. It's not so much a redemption arc as it is him trying to get people to like him despite how his family may look at him, because I think to some degree his family is always going to have this dislike towards him, especially Shoto's older siblings, who had it a lot worse than Shoto because of the fact that they weren't the dream child that Endeavor had in mind, whereas, you know, Shoto was. So he obviously had it a lot better, although that's not to say he had a good time growing up, because he certainly didn't, but at the same time probably a lot better than the others. Not to mention the Todoroki's mother, because she was probably one of the worst examples of Todoroki's treatment towards his family, seeing as she was actually hospitalized, you know, and she's now in an institution or whatever because of how she actually lost her mind at one point on Shoto because of the fact that she could see Endeavor in his eye. So I don't really think we should look at this as a redemption, but we should look at this, how is the world going to view Endeavor rather than how is his family going to view him. In fact, recently I saw this post, I believe it was through Chibi Reviews, interestingly enough, where he actually responded to someone who showed a picture of people going in on Endeavor, and I just don't understand. I really have no words for those people. I don't really have this image anymore, unfortunately, but what it was basically people hating on Horikoshi because he is trying to redeem a child abuser, which isn't the case at all. He's making something new for Endeavor, and I think we all should embrace that. We should all enjoy whatever Horikoshi is doing, and even if that was the case, there's no reason to hate on the creator just because of the direction that his story is going in. Anyway, enough of that, I just wanted to bring that up. But the second thing that I really want to talk about, of course, is his move that he used at the end, because it really represents something new in Endeavor, because he actually, for the first time, at least on screen, I think we can pretty much assume it's the first time period, but he actually made a plus ultra move, simply because, you know, Endeavor also went to UA as a child, or as a teenager should we say, and he wanted to make a move that really represented, you know, where he started. So he made this new move called plus ultra prominence burn, which was his final move against this new no move. So Endeavor certainly has changed. I think we can all agree with that. Not everyone's gonna like him even now, of course. I mean, just because of this arc, that doesn't mean everyone's gonna like the character. You know, it doesn't mean that even the entire public of the verse is going to like him. Like, some people are probably still going to look at him as some kind of swine or some kind of less significant figure compared to All Might. Maybe some will even try to compare him to All Might and say that he is nothing compared to All Might, and that then we have other people who may not like All Might as much as they maybe like Endeavor, as we saw quite interestingly with Hawks. He said he was never really a huge fan of All Might, although he's really been interested in Endeavor for quite some time, which just goes to show you that not everyone is going to have the same opinions just because someone is a huge hit among the public. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about is obviously Dabi, because Dabi appeared in this chapter, which surprised a lot of people, but some other people definitely weren't surprised. You know, some people expected him to arrive at some point. Me, I was sort of in the middle, you know. I've been expecting Dabi for quite a while now, and there was like a theory that the guy who was talking to this gnome at the beginning of the arc was Dabi, and as it turns out, that probably was the case, seeing as he is now present in the manga. Now, what does this mean for this arc? Well, I don't really know, to be honest. Like, I don't know if he is going to attack Endeavor and Hawks, because as it looks right now, Hawks and Endeavor both, they're in really bad shape. Like, they probably cannot continue. And here we have Dabi confronting both of them. We don't really know how strong Dabi is because we haven't really had a good way of measuring his power ever. In fact, we have a better chance at measuring Toga than we do with Dabi, which is really saying something, seeing as Toga isn't even a powerhouse. She's more of a stealth-based villain. But if I had to guess, I would say Dabi's pretty fucking strong. I would say his fire is very hot because it is blue, according to the anime, which we can assume is canon stuff, especially seeing as Endeavor's blue flames were canon according to Horikoshi, so there's no reason why Dabi's wouldn't be. A big question that really comes into play is Dabi a Todoroki brother now that he is confronting Endeavor? My answer to that question is kind of like at an uncertain point, because from what he said in the chapter, which is like, it's nice to meet you, I guess, Endeavor, kinda implies that he's never seen Endeavor before. Kinda implies that they've never met, because otherwise he would probably be like, oh, hello dad, or something like that. Or Endeavor would be like, hey, I know you. If you know what I mean. Like, it feels like this is the first time these two individuals come eye to eye. That said though, it could be more of a perspective thing and Dabi actually have met him, but Endeavor doesn't recognize him. Dabi probably knows that he doesn't recognize him, and so he pretends that he has never met Endeavor before, but in actuality, because of his patches, he's just not recognizable, and he wants to make a different kind of impression on Endeavor and maybe drop the bomb on him later on that, you know what, I'm that guy that you punished so badly for not being the perfect child, you know, maybe. But at the end of the day, you know, him being a Todoroki at the end of the day is just a theory, although a pretty good one, but it's still a theory at the end of the day, so I'm not really gonna jump to conclusions until it is on paper, so to speak, that he is called Dabi Todoroki, or whatever his real first name actually is. Regardless of what the situation really is between these two, it is going to ask a lot of questions, like, is he going to kill Endeavor, or at least try? You know, can Hawks really stop him? I don't think so, because as I said, both are in a really bad situation. Hawks' feathers are depleted, Endeavor is completely drained of power. He used up all of his power against this Nomu, and you know, they can't fight anymore. Dabi is at full strength, he hasn't done anything. He is at full capacity, he could probably take on these two at the moment. I mean, obviously it wouldn't be a fair fight because one is at full power, the other two are at their bare minimum. You know, they're at the very bottom from what they actually can perform. So even if Dabi does something really bad to these people, it doesn't mean he's stronger than them. It simply means that Dabi saw an opportunity to deal with these top dogs without having to get his hands dirty. Maybe that's just how Dabi does things, who knows. That's just the sort of impression I'm getting like right now, but at the end of the day, you know, we don't know. We have no idea what is going to be happening in the next couple of chapters. Maybe they're just going to talk, maybe he's just going to deliver a message, who knows. Anyway, I'd love to know what you guys think about this chapter, because to me this chapter was very, you know, questionable on some ends. Like, it wasn't a bad chapter by any means, but Dabi coming out of the blue, I don't really know how to feel about it, but I'm not really gonna have an opinion on it yet, seeing as we don't really know what's going to happen. So I'd love to know what you guys think, and as always, if you did, be sure to Detroit smash that like button if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. This has been Chaotic Plus, and remember everyone, Toga is waifu, Toga is lifu.